Grand Central, such a magical place. However, train stations usually don't have good food. I mean, I've been to many train stations all around Europe. Certainly many train stations in the US have the worst food. But here in Grand Central is an exception because we can find some great New York City treats. I have a special guest today. I have an Italian with me, and you love sweets.
Yeah, I love sweets, of course. I love all the food. Come on, I'm Italian.
This is Mary Jane.
Hello, everyone. Mary Jane from the channel Watershed Mary Jane.
Exactly, and you cover all the budget tips of New York City.
Yes, absolutely, and budget tips for traveling in general.
So, sweets. What do you love most about them?
I think Italy is not the best country for sweets.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious today to try the American ones because I think that America's best food is really the sweets.
Just came out with two really great treats from a place that is also in Port Authority and Pennsylvania Station, and that is Zaro's. Zaro's is a family-owned bakery, 4 generations already. And the great thing is they really stick out on doing a classic New York City cookie called the black and white. So this is the black and white cookie. And it dates back all the way to 1902 in Yorkville, Upper East Side. A baker by the name of Glazer's Bake Shop, made the first black and white cookie here in America. Shortbread cookie with some fondant on top of it, both chocolate and vanilla.
This is very thick, guys. Look at this. And it's also, I can assure you, very spongy. I was expecting it to be harder somehow.
Yeah, like a classic crunchy cookie.
Yeah, exactly.
That rips apart and gives you that
But
crunch.
it's not. Let's try it.
Let me try it out. All right. Right?
Delicious. It tastes like a cake, honestly.
Yeah.
This one gives a lot of flavor also because the vanilla one, the white one is the vanilla one, and you can really feel the vanilla flavor when you bite into it because the actual cookie itself, it's kind of neutral as a flavor.
Yeah.
I like that. And then you can bite either into the black part, which is dark chocolate, so it's bitter, or in the vanilla one, which is sweeter and
Exactly.
more feminine.
Exactly. It's both masculine and feminine colliding together.
Yin-yang.
The yin yang. It's funny.
Cookie.
It's funny because in the show Seinfeld, have you ever seen Seinfeld or heard of it? They mentioned this cookie like 2 or 3 times, but in one of them, George ended up making an analogy of racial harmony as being the black and white cookie. And he said, if you want to see the world more a peaceful place, just look at black and white.
If people would only look to the cookie, all our problems would be solved.
Yin yang, masculine, feminine, everyone coming together, enjoy a good cookie. So, you mentioned also in Little Italy, you saw like how the transition from classic Italian food made its way to New York City and kind of transformed into this Americanized Italian food that people know and love almost all around the world. Same thing happened with these German treats. You have your black and white cookies, you have your pretzels, the hot dog as well is a very classic German treat. But we're going further back in time to the 1600s, before the Germans ever came to the Dutch and learn about the donuts.
The donuts are Dutch?
Yes. We got the donut plant donuts. We went for the mini ones because we still have one more other treat to have, and that one's going to be really heavy. But I encourage you to have as many donuts as you would like, because there's no such thing as too many donuts. Don't listen to all the other health experts. Just joking. Consult with your doctor first. Nonetheless, this is the Grand Central Terminal donut. But wait a minute. Mary Jane, you asked me, what does this mean? What is it, a fairy tale donut? What is this supposed to represent? Do you know?
Well, I think I have the answer now. The Grand Central ceiling.
It is, it is. Hold it up this way.
The sky with stars,
It's matching now.
golden stars. It's so cute. In Europe, look,
Yeah.
we have a fried dough, fried pastry.
Yes.
That is original from Austria, I would say.
Yes, you're right
I
about
hope
that.
I'm not saying it wrong. So instead of having the hole in the middle,
Yeah.
it's full and it has a filling. It's either jam or custard usually, and it's called Krapfen.
Kapfen. Oh, interesting. Okay, so let's get our bite into the donut, because this ties back to the very roots of New York City. Cheers.
I almost feel bad to bite into it. It's so cute.
It is really cute. It's like perfect for Instagram.
Yeah, seriously.
How do you feel right now?
It's different than the Krapfen that I was telling you about. I would say this is more moist. Could it be? It's very moist for being a dough. I don't know.
Very moist for being a donut, yeah. Because there are two types of donuts. There are the yeast donuts, which are more fluffier, the ones that you might have seen like in Dunkin' Donuts. And then there's the cake donuts, which Donut Plant does amazing work at.
Okay.
So this is a very cakey donut. However, where does the donut come from? Well, I mentioned it goes back all the way to the Dutch. And you're right, there's all around that area of Europe, there is a lot of fried doughs, including the sfogliatella from Naples. They also make a fried version. But the Dutch, when they first came here to New York City, they made oily cakes. I can't pronounce the original Dutch one because it's a little bit harder.
It's impossible. don't
Dutch is
worry.
impossible. No offense to my Dutch viewers. But oily cakes were deep fried dough. The problem is with oily cakes is that when you deep fry sweet dough, the middle it always ends up being very chewy and very wet because the dough doesn't actually fully cook in the middle and the center of it. What they used to do is fill them in with nuts. However, zoom about 200 years later, the Americans somehow had some bright idea to put a hole right through them and no more wet little spot in the middle, nor nuts.
I love this story. It's so clever.
And hence we have the donut. Now, where did we first hear about the donut? Well, that comes back to Washington Irving. You ever heard about the legend of Sleepy Hollow? The Headless
Yes.
Horseman? He was the famous writer of that. And he wrote another book called A History of New York, which was basically mythologizing New York City. Do you know the basketball team, the Knicks?
Yes.
Knicks comes from Knickerbocker, which was a fictional family he invented. And he said that the Knickerbockers were the original Dutch families of New York, and they ate donuts on their table.
Whoa, that's so many information. I love that.
So cheers to the donuts filled with New York City history. And I hope you enjoy many more donuts in your future.
I will, absolutely.
Now, after having all these desserts, at least for me, I'm gonna need some coffee. And for one of the best coffee shops in New York City is a place that started all the way in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. And they have an outpost here in Grand Central Terminal, which is Cafe Grumpy. Let's go. So we got the cup in Urbanist Orange. Asked them to do that. No, I'm just joking. That's also their color. But this is one of my favorite coffee shops in New York City just because they always have constantly great coffee.
That's Italian espresso.
That's a what?
Italian espresso.
Yeah, it's Italian style espresso.
Well, I was very surprised to see that this is a real Italian espresso because I've been to other places in New York where they claim to have an espresso, but it's not really the Italian thing. Because first of all, in order for it to be a real Italian espresso, it has to be this kind of cup. And also, it has to be the right quantity of liquid, which is very, very short, as you probably know in Italy.
huge cup of
Yeah, exactly. And also it has to be the right foam. It has to be a very homogeneous foam that covers the entire surface of the coffee, and also it has to be the right color. There is even an Italian association for Italian espresso. They list all the characteristics for an Italian espresso to be an Italian espresso.
Actually, let me do it the Italian way. For our last and final stop, we have to go outside Grand Central Terminal, but not too far, right in the corner of 45th Street and Vanderbilt. On the backside of Grand Central Terminal is a food hall. Let's go into Urbanspace. Welcome. Now, unlike the places in Italy, they tend to have, as you mentioned, not the best foods, tends to be commercial. It is the case also in many parts of America. But here in New York City, they're truly excelling on selling great quality food in these food markets. Specifically, one dessert from Brooklyn. Let's check it out. The cake donuts, but there's also the yeast donuts. Luckily, you could get, I think, the best yeast donuts in New York City right in the same place in Urbanspace Vanderbilt at Dough Donuts. Let's grab one. We have first the cake, and have you ever heard of a Brooklyn Blackout cake?
Not at all, but it's a very cool name.
And when I texted you that, what do you think I was referring to?
I thought maybe it was like the name of the place, Brooklyn Blackout.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was a weird text.
Well, it's a weird name, and it's not really known outside New York, because this is probably as like only New York you can get. It's not really available anywhere outside of the city. And it comes from Brooklyn, and it is, I'm gonna have a tough time showing it right over here. Look at that. This is six different chocolates combined together to make this.
This is what I meant when I said Americans are very good at soup. This is exactly what I meant.
Precisely, because you won't find this anywhere in Europe. Not this extravagant.
No, it's extravagant, it's not exactly.
And we're having it specifically from Ovenly, and Ovenly is from Greenpoint, Brooklyn. But you asked earlier,
Ariel, what about this cake? Is it a classic New York City cake, or it's like this brand invented it?
actually not. It goes back much farther back to about 1905 when there was a cake shop called Ebinger's. And Ebinger's ended up opening dozens of shops all around Brooklyn. It was famous for making this very black cake filled with chocolate pudding inside.
Chocolate pudding, that's what it is. Okay.
This is kind of an interpretation of that. So it's not as strictly the classic recipe. And people loved it. However, in World War II in New York City, unfortunately, New Yorkers were very afraid of being bombarded by the Germans. No offense to the Germans who may be watching.
They're not going to be offended, I can guarantee.
If you're offended, that's a little bit of a cause for issue. But we would do blackout drills. So we would turn off all the lights in the city.
Okay, that's where it comes from.
And people just started associating the cake because it was so dark. It was filled with 3 different chocolates, the chocolate frosting, the chocolate cake, and the chocolate pudding, that people thought, oh, this looks like a blackout. Hence, the Brooklyn Blackout.
Look, I must say, when you pointed that cake at me and you told me that's the Brooklyn Blackout cake, I laughed hard because this is, I don't know if it shows on camera, I guess so. It's very, very dark. Like, it's not even chocolate brown, it's darker than that. So it really, it's just, the name of the cake is just a genius metaphor for the cake itself. I love it.
Now let's try it out. Go for it. So it's not the camera that is incapable of showing all the different colors. It's literally, in person, you can't really see other colors than black. Look at that. All right, bon appetit.
It's really black, wow.
I'm hearing angels singing. Oh, what it tastes like? Oh, it tastes like angels singing. To me, this is like one of the best treats in all of New York City. What do you think?
New York style. It's like the word that describes it the most for me is rich.
Rich.
It's like the richest cake you can ever imagine. From where I come from, the richest cake I could imagine would be a cake with a lot of whipped cream and custard. But this is not like that. This is way heavier and richer.
Now,
Oh my god, it's so much food.
our final adventure. We ate 5 different types of desserts.
Yeah, we're gonna have diabetes after shooting this video.
Exactly. 5 different desserts in just 1 block radius.
Yeah.
So no walking. So what's better than eating a bunch of dessert and not walking at all? No exercise. All right. This, ladies and gentlemen, and to all the Italians out there who might be thinking, should I go to America or not? I think this is proof of why you should come to America. This is the classic yeast donut. We talked a little bit about the donut history. This is how the donuts usually look like.
Very, very curious to try this out.
So this is a passion fruit donut.
That's what it is. Okay.
Cool thing about America, as you mentioned, and we do like crazy stuff with ingredients as well. So we do stuff, here we're not as strict as maybe Italian culture or other cultures in Europe where it's only seasonal ingredients. We don't care if passion fruit is not in season. We're gonna put it on our donut.
You import it anyways, right?
Yeah, we
From
import it.
Central America, so.
This is the passion fruit from New Jersey. No, I'm joking.
This is, I would say, the classic donut. That's how I would expect the donut to be. It's more similar to that pastry that I was talking to you about, the cup that we have in Europe.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
It's more similar, yes.
It's more similar, yeah. It's very similar to all those classic
Yeah.
deep fried treats.
But we don't use to put frosting.
Frosting.
We don't have frosting. We just sprinkle some sugar, either normal sugar, granulated, or powdered sugar. But we have the filling instead of the whole.
Mary Jane and I just gonna need a break because this was a whole lot of food
Yes,
and we ate so much that I can't do any more exercise.
and very sweet as well. So much sugar.
So out of all the different 5 places we tried, which one did you enjoy the most?
Very much surprisingly, for me, probably the best one has been the black and white cookies at Zaro's.
Oh, that's amazing.
I really love
Yeah.
them. I'm not a cookie kind of person. That's
Yeah.
why I'm so surprised, but I really, really enjoyed them.
Thank you so much for joining me, Mary Jane,
Thank you very much for letting me try all these treats.
because you have a very awesome channel about budget tips What a
Yes.
shame, Mary Jane.
What a shame, Mary Jane.
So Mary Jane has a bunch of like really awesome practical tips that it will definitely help you if you're traveling to New York.
Very practical.
What a shame, Mary Jane. And for more videos, check out Urbanist History of Cities here on YouTube and on my Facebook, facebook.com/urbanistlive. Thank you so much for watching. Keep being awesome and always keep on eating sweets. Have a great day, everyone.